Justice is coming. For the first time, a broadcast network fully dedicated to crime and investigation programming, plus a groundbreaking commitment to support national and local law enforcement. Each hour, the Justice Network will ask for your help in finding dangerous criminals, locating missing children, and help you avoid becoming a victim. Join me, John Walsh, on the all-new Justice Network.
Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. It is Wednesday morning, and today the focus of this program is going to be amnesty, illegal immigrants, and that decision handed down by the president and the ruling by a federal judge. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Call in, weigh in. Back in a moment. Back here on the program on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno on this Wednesday morning. Glad you're along. A hot topic today. I'm sure we get a lot of phone calls. Make sure and call in 436-MeTV option 11. Interested to see what the reaction is from you, the viewer, on this topic today, because soon a decision will be made. Matter of fact, something big is about to happen day after tomorrow regarding this case with the President of the United States. Anyway, I want to remind you we're on Comcast Channel 187, 43.6 and 13.1. Right now, we're live from here now until 11 o'clock in the morning, each and every Monday through Friday. Then the replay on this program comes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6, and 8 o'clock at night on 4.6 Biz TV. The Twitter account is up. It is at John Malos, MeTV. A couple of news items to pass along before we get started with our program today. You may have seen it. This just came down just within the last half hour or so. Aaron Hernandez on the East Coast in Massachusetts found guilty on first-degree murder charges all across the board. Of course, the former wide receiver for the New England Patriots caught up in that murder that murder investigation. He was charged with murder, then today convicted, found guilty on all counts. So Aaron Hernandez, I guess, is going to be spending some time behind bars in prison for quite a number of years. We'll see what the sentencing is. Also, some news to pass along about a former colleague in the news business, Faith Sidlow. Former morning news anchor at KC24 for many, many years, hired back in 1985. But let go just a few years ago. She has filed suit against Nexstar. One of her attorneys is Warren Pabujian. We'll see how this plays out. We'll try to reach out in the coming days to Faith Sidlow, but doubt if she'll come on the program as long as this case is in litigation. Anyway, to the main topic of the program today, and that is the big question. And I want to pose the question to you. How important is this issue to you, amnesty or illegal immigration, and what the president did just a few months ago? Do you believe in amnesty? That's the big question. I want to roll the videotape and talk to you about some illegal immigrants here in this country. There are some 11 to 12 million illegal immigrants right now in the U.S., and each year about 700,000 new illegals come in. Most of them remain in the U.S. Mexicans make up about half of all illegals. That's about 5.9 million, or 52%, although some of those numbers have been declining in recent years. Most of the illegals in this country, roughly 60%, reside in California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. California has the most, nearly 3 million, or just thereabouts. Texas, second, nearly 2 million. Those figures are coming from the Pew Research Center. Last November, the president himself broke out his own plan to help save at least a quarter of those 11 to 12 million from deportation in a prime-time speech to the nation.
If you've been in America for more than 5 years, if you have children who are American citizens or legal residents, if you register, pass a criminal background check, and you're willing to pay your fair share of taxes, You'll be able to apply to stay in this country temporarily without fear of deportation. You can come out of the shadows and get right with the law. That's what this deal is. Now let's be clear about what it isn't. This deal does not apply to anyone who has come to this country recently. It does not apply to anyone who might come to America illegally in the future. It does not grant citizenship or the right to stay here permanently or offer the same benefits that citizens receive. Only Congress can do that. All we're saying is we're not going to deport you. I know some of the critics of this action call it amnesty. Well, it's not. Amnesty is the immigration system we have today. Millions of people who live here without paying their taxes or playing by the rules, while politicians use the issue to scare people and whip up votes at election time.
All right, live in our studio right now is Lazaro Salazar. He is an immigration attorney right here in the city of Fresno. And let me tell you, my friends, he is an expert in this field. He knows it inside and out. That's why he's here, to try to explain it to us and to you. Call in. He'll be here to talk about this issue in depth. Something huge is about to happen on Friday. He'll talk about that. 436-MeTV option 11 is the telephone number. So call in, weigh in if you have some comments or questions about immigration. We're back with our program in just a moment.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country. The only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Francisco Molina Nieve has been on the run since March 2008. The police and the FBI need your help tracking this coward down. He's wanted for brutally beating his girlfriend and for the use of a firearm. He has 3 freckles and a crescent shape under his right eye. Call the Colorado FBI at 303-629-7171 if you know where he's hiding.
Back here on the program, we'd like to hear from you on this topic today, amnesty, or the illegal immigration problem in this country. And a lot of people think it is a problem. We have about, 11 or 12 million, roughly speaking. Nobody knows the exact figure. We can't put our finger on it to a T, but roughly speaking, anywhere between 11 and 12 million. Most are here in California. Lazaro Salazar is here, an immigration attorney. I appreciate it. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, you look good. Thank you. I'm fine.
Thanks.
Anyway, so I want to put up on the screen President Obama's amnesty program. Let's put up that full screen, and we'll talk. Well, okay, let's take the phone call first before we do that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Caller?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say something that I think, the people from the South, man, they're the backbone of our economy. They're not up here raping, pillaging, and setting fire to the place. So, we got to treat them like workers. That's what it's all about. They need to, get them jobs. Because who else is going to do the work?
Okay, thank you. You want to comment on that?
I agree. People are here to work. People are here because we need them here. Unfortunately, the system isn't set up so that people can do what a lot of people say, do the right thing, get in line. You shouldn't jump in front of the line. But people are here to work, and they're here. They are the backbone of the economy, especially here, the breadbasket of America.
Yeah, I do want to put up the President's amnesty program full screen, and you're welcome to call in and comment about this one way or the other, 436-MeTV option 11. You heard the President's soundbite in the monologue. That speech took place last November, and the judge took his action, of course, in February. We'll talk about that later on, but let's go over these line by line here. The President is not offering citizenship to any of these folks, but basically you can read these line by line. Illegal immigrants in the U.S. for 5 years, their parents have to have lived here for 5 years as legal residents. They get a 3-year work permit. The permit allows them to obtain a Social Security number, a driver's license. It gives them temporary status for how long? How many years?
3 years.
3 years, okay. And it's not a path to citizenship. I want to clarify that. So And, you know, there are more than 3.5 million illegal immigrants who entered this country prior to 2010 who qualify under this executive order. There are Republicans, there are politicians, there are average citizens that have a problem with what the president's message was back in November. Do you find a problem with it?
Absolutely not. Well, the problem I have is that it's not nearly enough as what we need. And what we need is immigration reform. The president has done what he did, or the announcement on November 20th, because last year he repeatedly said to Congress, bring me something, as in some kind of bill that he could sign. They didn't, and he kept true to his word by doing the announcement, by doing this deferred action. But I disagree with it because it's simply not enough. So do I agree with that he has the right to do it? And am I at least happy that it was done? Absolutely. But I don't think it's enough.
All right, caller, go ahead. You're there. You're on the air.
Hello. First to Mr. Salazar, you have the same last name as my sister.
Yeah.
Good name.
Thank you.
I want to give you an example for those that are listening. I listened to the speeches and the debates on C-SPAN for Congress and the Senate, and I'll give you an example why the undocumented worker is needed here. A lot of people criticize them. They say they come to take the jobs from the American citizens, but that's not true. In Alabama, they passed a law where no one could rent to undocumented workers. They could not hire them, so they started leaving the state. Well, the ranchers started to complain to the governor because their fruits and vegetables and everything were beginning to rot in the fields. So the governor ordered the different prisons to, let some of the prisoners come out and help the ranchers. Well, many of them were African American and maybe a few whites. And let me tell you, most of them didn't even last 1 hour. They complained that it was too hot, that they couldn't understand why these illegal immigrants were able to stand the heat and the cold weather and the rain. So let me tell you, they are needed. Otherwise, who's going to put our vegetables on the table? I know I'm not, because I don't know anything about working in the fields, so I wouldn't be able to.
I absolutely agree. First of all, the last name, I love it too. I think it's a beautiful last name. Secondly, yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult work. People do come and they work out in the field. It's out in the sun. It's dirty. It's laborious. It's very difficult. And I'm not saying that simply because I've seen it, but I've done it. I've worked out in the fields myself. My family's a migrant family. I was born in Mexico. I came to the United States as a child. I was a legal permanent resident when we came to the United States. I'm now a citizen, but I did work in the field, and that's what we did. That was not what we wanted to aspire to, and fortunately I took advantage of the opportunities that the United States has to offer. I'm now an attorney representing a lot of people who are still working in the fields. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to do the work that they do, and very, very few people are willing to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you something before we move on with this President's Amnesty Program. They're calling it the Amnesty Program. There are those who say, and I'll cite an example, you may be familiar with it, up in Sacramento just recently, I think it was last year, there was an illegal documented person, an illegal who shot and killed a Sacramento County Sheriff's deputy. So there are those people, there are those distractors that say, you know what, they are here maybe to create havoc, commit crimes. What would be the percentage of those illegals that come to this country that get involved in crime and drugs and things of that nature? Is it small?
In my experience, it's a small percentage. And of course, I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, we want to keep people who commit serious crimes in the United States.
Right.
I am not about that at all.
Right.
It's an issue of what's the seriousness of the crime relative to the punishment, because what we're talking about is expulsing people from the United States, sending them away to a country that perhaps they're not familiar with, or they haven't been there for many years.
Sure.
Perhaps they came as very young children, so they have absolutely no ties to that country other than the fact that they were born there. So what kind of crime is being committed, and does that justify being expelled to another country that for all intents and purposes may be a foreign place to you.
Obviously, murder would qualify as deportation.
Obviously,
I mean, that goes without question.
That goes without question.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm going to continue this conversation. I'm getting the wrap. I got to go to break. 436 MeTV option 11. What are your thoughts on amnesty? What are your thoughts about, what the president proposed last November during his prime time speech to the nation and Congress? Should they move on this? Are they not moving fast enough? Do we need to reform our immigration system? 436 MeTV option 11. We're back in a moment.
Retro TV, your home for classic television. The greatest shows in history are here for you to enjoy. Join Cosby and Culp as secret agent men in I Spy. Ride along the Ponderosa with the Cartwrights in Bonanza. Hit the beat with Joe Friday in Dragnet. And that's not all. Retro TV offers endless fun and excitement for the whole family to enjoy. Retro TV, the best in classic television.
You can find Retro TV on over-the-air channel 13.4.
We need help to find this missing child. Patrick Alford was 8 when he went missing. He was last seen in Brooklyn, New York in January of 2010. This is what we believe he looks like today at age 12. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Patrick Alford home.
First, we'll build on our progress at the border with additional resources for our law enforcement personnel so that they can stem the flow of illegal crossings and speed the return of those who do cross over. Second, I'll make it easier and faster for high-skilled immigrants, graduates, and entrepreneurs to stay and contribute to our economy, as so many business leaders have proposed. Third, we'll take steps to deal responsibly with the millions of undocumented immigrants who already live in our country. I want to say more about this third issue because it generates the most passion and controversy. Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security.
Would you agree with the president's statement there, the last few seconds of that statement?
Yes, we need to have people be accountable for the crimes that they commit in the United States. But again, I'll go back to the comment I made earlier. What's the degree of the harm being committed relative to the punishment? Now, let's keep in mind that when somebody gets charged in criminal court, they necessarily pay the punishment, the sentence, whatever it is that they have there. But there's a secondary effect. There's a secondary punishment, so to speak, and that's going to be your status in the United States. If you're a legal permanent resident, that crime may be sufficient for immigration to initiate deportation proceedings. If you're not a legal permanent resident, you have no status whatsoever, then there's a good chance that the mere fact that you have no documents is going to be sufficient for ICE to pick you up and initiate deportation proceedings. And then we have to see whether or not there's a waiver available to you if you have some kind of remedy in court. So what is the crime and what is the ultimate punishment? You mentioned the word or the crime murder. Obviously, nobody's going to say we want murderers in the United States if they came here illegally. But correct. Something less serious could have the same drastic effect as deportation. For example, simple possession of a controlled substance. If you're a U.S. citizen, simple possession would be a slap in the hand, maybe go do some drug rehab or be on probation, and in essence, it's not a big deal. If you are a legal permanent resident and you have a conviction for a controlled substance, same conviction, possession, not trafficking, not selling, not manufacturing.
Possession, but using, yeah.
That is enough to initiate deportation proceedings and get expelled. That's not proportional to me. That doesn't make sense. And that's an example of how serious is the crime and what's the ultimate punishment there.
It's a complex issue, and I'm not an expert in this issue by any stretch of the imagination, but undocumented workers has been a problem in this country for many years. Why haven't politicians, specifically, namely Congress and former presidents, address this issue to try to solve the problem? I mean, how do we solve it? How do we solve it? I think that's the issue. How do we solve it?
Yeah, and it's really complicated. And Congress has tried through various measures. The presidents have tried. The problem is, I think, every time there's an effort to fix the problem, it makes it even more complicated.
And there's a revolt.
Yes, and instead of fixing the problem, they make it even more complex, and it makes life even more difficult for us immigration attorneys to deal with or respond to the new law and help people actually get some kind of status. Now, what is the solution? I mean, it's a really complicated issue. It's hard for me to sit here and give you a
solution. Is the
solution.
solution just sending these 11 or 12 million out of the country?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then how do we deal with the 11 or 12 million that are already here? And how do we find out from those undocumented people which ones are criminals and which ones are not? And how do we find out where they are? Where are they living?
Well, you have to provide an incentive for them to come out of the shadows, number one. And there has to be some kind of system such that those individuals can apply. And every time you apply, and the system is set up for this now, every time you apply, your fingerprints are taken. And so anytime you have a criminal conviction, an arrest, your prints will be taken, and immigration will find out what prior history you have with regard to any charges with the law.
I want to put this full screen back up. The president and his amnesty program. We showed it once before in the program, but let's go over these line by line. This is this action here that he took is part of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. That's called DACA. What is that?
Well, the screen specifically is for DAPA, but DACA is for...
on the screen it's for DAPA.
Right.
Okay, that's Deferred Action for Parental Accountability.
Right.
Okay, and what is that?
DAPA is for parents who have children who are either legal permanent residents or U.S. citizens. It's for the parents.
And is DAPA part of law?
DAPA is not law.
It's not.
It's executive action. It's more appropriately, we should be saying deferred action. I mean, we use the word amnesty. We should be saying deferred action. And the action that's being deferred is deportation. So the president is saying, if you meet these certain criteria, we are not going to deport you. It's not giving them status. It's simply allowing them to work.
And that's what DAPA is.
That's what DAPA is.
Okay, we're going to give you a pass, but you have to meet these requirements. Otherwise, you have to leave the country.
Well, if you...
Those are the requirements on the screen.
Those are the requirements for you to get protection by way of a work authorization document. So you get a work permit, and you're at least secured from deportation for that time period.
Okay, so illegal immigrants, you have to be in the U.S. for at least 5 years. Your parents must be a U.S. citizen or legal resident.
No, you are a parent. You are a parent.
Okay.
A parent of a legal permanent resident or a U.S. citizen.
Right, and then you get that 3-year permit.
Right.
Obviously, you can get a social security number,
right,
a driver's license. Are all these good things?
Absolutely. We want people...
Because why?
Well, we want people to be able to drive and have a license and establish and prove to the DMV that they're worthy of being able to be behind a wheel, number one. Number two, we want them to be licensed and insured. We want them to be able to get insurance because we all want insurance. We want everybody out there to have insurance in case we have that in accident. We want that person to be responsible and be able to cover the damages that we suffer or that they caused. So absolutely. Social Security, of course we want them to pay into the system. They need to pay the taxes that everybody else needs to pay. So giving them a Social Security number is essential for them to continue to live in the United States.
Right now they're not paying taxes, right?
They're paying taxes every day. They purchase anything, they are paying taxes there, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have tax identification numbers, and they do their income tax with that. They don't need a Social Security number. But a lot of people are responsible and are paying taxes because they know that sooner or later immigration reform will come, and part of that will include their responsibility to pay taxes. If you want to be an American, you have to act like one, and a lot of people are preparing for that, and they are doing that.
Before we go to break, are the larger numbers of these illegal immigrants, are they following the letter of the law? Are they law-abiding citizens in your judgment?
The vast majority, yes. The vast majority. Of course, there are people out there that are committing crimes that are not following the law, and we're not going to be advocating for them to stay, depending on the degree of the offense, the degree of the crime, the degree of the harm to society.
You got it. We're going to continue our conversation here. Lazaro Salazar is here. He is an immigration attorney and expert in the field. You can call in and weigh in at 436-MeTV option 11. We're back in a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Julio Cesar Guevara Mejia is wanted by the FBI in Sacramento for the attempted murder of a 19-year-old female in November of 2007. Police say he lured the young woman to a hotel room where he shot her 3 times in the chest. He could be in Palm Springs, California or Houston, Texas. Contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI if you have any information.
We get our speed from Mom and Dad.
They do stuff super fast. And now they got this new kitchen, so they're even faster. So they can help us with our free throws.
The time-saving Frigidaire Gallery line with a quick preheat and smudge-proof stainless steel that resists fingerprints and cleans easily. It's mealtime in no time, from start to clean. Frigidaire Gallery.
Save more during Frigidaire Gallery bonus days when you buy 3 or more qualifying appliances. See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Overall, the number of people trying to cross our border illegally is at its lowest level since the 1970s. Those are the facts. Meanwhile, I worked with Congress on a comprehensive fix, and last year 68 Democrats, Republicans, and Independents came together to pass a bipartisan bill in the Senate. It wasn't perfect. It was a compromise, but it reflected common sense. It would have doubled the number of Border Patrol agents while giving undocumented immigrants a pathway to citizenship if they paid a fine, started paying their taxes, and went to the back of the line. And independent experts said that it would help grow our economy and shrink our deficits. Had the House of Representatives allowed that kind of bill, a simple yes or no vote, it would have passed with support from both parties. And today it would be the law. But for a year and a half now, Republican leaders in the House have refused to allow that simple vote.
Agree or disagree?
It is painfully obvious that this has not happened. We need immigration reform. Unfortunately, the politics surrounding this topic is very hot. It's very difficult. And every time we discuss immigration at a national level, politics comes in, and it's sadly, in the legal field, it's one of the topics that is most dictated by political sways and Congress.
All right, here's what happened in February. That federal judge, I want to put up the full screen just so people at home can see what a federal judge did. You remember we showed the sound clip from the president in November in the monologue announcing his amnesty program for about 3 to 4 million undocumented workers. In February, here's what a federal judge did. In 2015, a federal judge in Texas blocked President Obama's amnesty program. In a 123-page document, the judge, in this case, Andrew Hannon, ruled that the Department of Homeland Security did not allow public comment on its rules implementing Obama's executive action. Hannon issued a preliminary injunction blocking the administration from implementing the deferred deportation or department program. And so, in layman's terms, what did the judge in Texas, what did his ruling do?
His ruling pretty much put pause on the whole executive action that the president tried to initiate. Put it on pause.
Put it on hold.
Put it on hold. He said the states are going to suffer harm if we don't put this on hold.
Because why?
Until the litigation is completed. And the
harm? What harm?
The harm the argument was that they are having to deal with people who continue to be undocumented, provide them with social services, and feel forced to provide public services to them is what I understand to be the harm. Interestingly, though, the same argument was made with DACA, the first version of DACA that came through in 2012, and the same circuit has said they don't have standing. The harm that they tried to argue that they were going to suffer is not enough to have standing to go forward on that case. So we fully expect the same circuit to follow that same decision and allow the president's plan to go forward.
DACA being Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which means what in layman's terms?
It means that if you're a kid who came before your 16th birthday, you either graduated from high school or you're currently enrolled in some high school program, don't have any criminal history, and you can establish that you've been physically here since 2007, then you get that work permit.
I see. I see. Is there any merit to the federal judge's ruling?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. It's putting in question the ability of the president to do his job, execute the law, in terms of deporting people. The president has done the same thing that every police officer does every day when they pull you over. They use the discretion to determine whether or not they ought to issue the citation. Many times we call that, it's a warning. The officer uses his discretion to execute the law at that point. Same thing with the president. He's using discretion to determine whether or not you, who fit this certain criteria, ought to be deported or not.
Mm-hmm. But the judge said, you know, it seems to me that he was saying that it's a drain on the system to provide all these social services. Is it? Is there any merit to that?
Very few people who are undocumented get social services. By definition, most, if not all, social services are not available to people who are undocumented. So the only people who get services are children who have status in the United States, or there is services available to people on an emergency basis. And other than that, there's nothing else.
Okay, Lazaro Salazar is here. He is an immigration attorney. You're welcome to call in and weigh in on this topic of immigration today. We'll come back and talk about what's going to happen on Friday, possibly in federal court, regarding the president's statement in November and in this judge's ruling back in February. 436-MeTV, option 11. Back in a moment.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. James Bell is an alleged child predator. Bell's wanted for molesting 3 girls ages 9 through 13 while working at a local YMCA in 2003. He was arrested, then fled. Bell has worked as a gymnastics instructor, coach, and a computer repairman. Bell could be anywhere along the West Coast. If you know where he is, call 617-742-5533.
Talking to an expert today. He is an expert in immigration law. He is an immigration attorney, Lazaro Salazar. He is here in Fresno. He's here to answer your questions. But first, let's hear again from the president last November talking about his amnesty program in front of the nation in a primetime broadcast.
But today, our immigration system is broken, and everybody knows it. Families who enter our country the right way and play by the rules watch others flout the rules. Business owners who offer their workers good wages and benefits see the competition exploit undocumented immigrants by paying them far less. All of us take offense to anyone who reaps the rewards of living in America without taking on the responsibilities of living in America. And undocumented immigrants who desperately want to embrace those responsibilities see little option but to remain in the shadows or risk their families being torn apart. It's been this way for decades. And for decades, we haven't done much about it. When I took office, I committed to fixing this broken immigration system. And I began by doing what I could to secure our borders. Today, we have more agents and technology deployed to secure our southern border than at any time in our history. And over the past 6 years, illegal border crossings have been cut by more than half.
They have? Really?
Yes. Recently, we had statistics saying that the net of people coming in and leaving was at a net 0. So people were actually at a 0 immigrating into the United States.
Really? So the number of illegal crossings has been cut in half?
Has not only been cut in half, but to a certain extent...
Gone down to 0?
Gone down. Not crossing gone down to zero, but the net effect of people coming in undocumented and people going home by way of deportation or voluntary, however,
so it
that net
cancels
effect,
each other
the net
out.
effect has been zero.
Yeah, all right. So, but here's the problem I have with the president, because he said many times before that he doesn't have the legal authority as the president to offer an executive order on this issue, and yet he did it anyway. I mean, he said it many times.
Right, and when he said it, I cringed, and I completely disagreed with him.
How many times did he say it? About a half a dozen
Well,
times?
he said it too many times, and he also said that he was going to do something to fix the program within the first year of his presidency,
Well,
and we all know how that worked out.
Well, exactly,
Right?
and he mentioned that in the soundbite we just played.
Right.
So if he said it so many times, why does he come out and say these things? You know, I don't have the legal authority. I don't have the legal authority. And he says it a dozen or more times, and then he comes out and takes the action. What is that all about?
Well, on the positive side, I'd like to think that he finally is getting his head around the issue. He's finally understanding that we need this issue taken care of now. He's responding to Congress's inability or inactivity all of last summer.
For a year and a half.
They've had the bill that the Senate passed. The House of Representatives refused to even talk about it, much less vote on it. So I like the fact that the president has done something now. Am I happy that it's taken him this long? Absolutely not. It should have been taken care of, like he said, within his first year.
Right. I know Devin Nunes was here. He's the congressman. You know who he is. He's a Republican from the Central Valley here. And I know he disagreed with what the president did. I wish I had pulled up the soundbite because he was a guest on our program. We did talk about it. I'm trying to think of what he said, what his comments were regarding amnesty. I believe he just said that we need to revamp the whole system. That this is, you know, this is putting a Band-Aid on the situation, basically, and we need to revamp the system. We need to, and he disagreed with the president's action.
Well, if you're referring to the Band-Aid as the executive action of the announcement of the president, I agree. And as far as having to revamp the whole system, I also agree.
But how do you do it when so many people disagree? Republicans don't like what the president did. They said he overreached, he overstepped his bounds. This isn't the way to fix it. This is a Band-Aid. We need to do it the right way, but yet they can't agree on what the right way is.
I completely agree. The president has not changed the law. The law still remains. He is only deciding within a certain criteria of who to deport or not. So he's not changing anything. He's not making new law. The people who ought to make the law, who are in charge of making the law, is Congress, and they're the ones who have failed us. Now, the Senate passed something, and if it's something that they don't, the House of Representatives doesn't like, analyze it, discuss it, vote on it, and let's move on.
What's going to happen on Friday? There is an emergency stay that will be heard in federal court. Now, 26 states filed a federal lawsuit, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, what did they, so does this? What is an emergency stay, first of all, in layman's terms?
It's asking the judge or the Circuit Court of Appeal to put on hold something that was done at the lower court, and the thing that was done at the lower court was the injunction stopping the executive action. So the emergency is saying put aside that injunction and allow us to continue with the executive action. That's what that is.
I'm going to get into more of that in depth a little bit so I can wrap my head around that. Caller, you're on the air. What's your comment or your question, or how do you feel about immigration?
I feel that this is the most biased program I've watched in a long time, that this man that's appearing is biased. And I believe the fact that he's a lawyer and biased says a lot. And I also believe that undocumented does not do it for me. The word is illegal. You break the law coming in, you're going to continue ignoring the fact that you broke the law. And you possibly will be breaking it again. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, let me ask you a question before you leave. Ma'am, can you stay? Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate your comments because all comments are welcome here on this program, no matter your political view. But let me ask you, what do you think that should be done with the 11 or 12 illegal immigrants that are in this country now? What should happen to them? How do we
11 or 12 million, you mean?
Yes, the 11 or 12 million illegal immigrants that are here now. What should happen to them if we can find them all?
I think the ones that are in prison should be deported. I believe the ones that aren't in prison that are committing atrocities should be deported, and I think the ones that just don't care about our laws, and they are living off of our services, they're breaking it. The thing is, people that are starving here that belong here are not getting help because of the people who are draining the system. No, undocumented doesn't do it, and illegal is illegal, and a lawyer or the guy sitting with you is a lawyer. He knows it, and he's biased.
Well, let me ask you a question. What about the illegals that are here working in the fields, the ones that are abiding by the law? They're not breaking the law in any way, shape, or form. They're just trying to provide for their families. What should happen to those people?
They should apply for legal status, but they should do it the right way. They should be sent back and brought in the right way. It takes time, but do it the right way. You're not breaking the law, then you're legal. Then you belong. It was late. You don't make your own little groups. You learn English. Learn English. This is the country we live in. This is the language we speak. It's asking you to do it legally. Breaking the law, coming in illegally, and I think right at this point we have no water. We have, California has no water, so how can they work without plants and farmers to support them? We need to work on our infrastructure for our country. We're overcrowded with immigrants. We need to close our borders for a while and come in legally.
Okay, I appreciate your comments. You have plenty of time to respond.
Sure. I just want to confirm that she said I'm a lawyer, not a liar. And if it was a liar, then
No,
I'd like to know what it was that I... Okay, good.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration that the caller has. She's not the only person. There's a lot of people out there who have the same opinion. And the issue that I have with that of do it legally, it's a problem because the system as it is, if we do it legally, let me just give you a quick example. I'm a legal permanent resident. I have a green card and I have a child that I want to apply for. That child is over 21 years of age. I can do that. The problem is that child is going to wait roughly 18, 20, 25 years before he's able to apply for that green card. So the problem is, yes, we want people to do it legally. The problem is that the system is set up in such a way that it takes forever to do it. So when people say get in back of the line, that's a long line that people need to get in back of. And it's just not simply correct to say that the people who are here working out in the field that are undocumented are a drain on the system.
Hey, caller, I know you're there, but be patient for a minute. I do want to put you on the air. Just hang on one moment. But I think she was saying that, a lot of these people, they entered to begin with illegally. I know we've got a call. Hang on, caller. So how do you respond to that? Okay, they're here illegally to begin with. They're breaking the law. Shouldn't we change the law so those people can come here through the system in a legal manner?
Absolutely. Let's do that. And from now on, let's do it. Let's have a forward-looking policy to allow people to enter the United States to work, do what they want to do, and be able to return home, which was their original intent, and continue with that. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. The problem is that there's a lot of people now that have been here for years and years and years, have kids, have roots in the community, have jobs, have U.S. citizen children who did enter illegally. We need to do something about those people.
All right. And the young lady who called in, actually, I'm not trying to be biased in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to be fair and honest about the situation. That's why this is a call-in program. You can call in and offer your opinion, no problem at all. Caller, are you there?
Real quick, Obama said 22 times he would not do executive order.
Pardon me?
Thank you.
Pardon me? Obama said it 22 times what? That he wouldn't do it?
That he couldn't, I guess that he didn't have the power to do it.
He didn't have the power to do it, and he went ahead and did it. Right. So, got to go to break. Lazaro Salazar is here. He is an immigration attorney. We're back with our program, and you can call in and offer an opinion. 436-MeTV, option 11. Back in a moment.
taking care of laundry taking too much of your time? Have you become a missing mom? With a new fast, efficient washer and dryer from Ventura TV Video Appliance, you'll spend more of your day the way you want. Save now on Frigidaire's Advanced Affinity Laundry Pair. Let Frigidaire save you energy, water, and time. Don't spend your life on laundry. Upgrade today at Ventura TV Video Appliance and save.
Back here on the program, Connect with Me on this day, talking immigration. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. What do you think about immigration and what the president has done and the ruling coming up Friday? What's on your mind, sir?
On my mind that the callers, a couple of callers ago says about deporting, undocumented people, But my feeling is this: you're going to break up families, okay? They've been here 15, 20 years. They pay into the system because I know a lot of friends and relatives that have homes and whatnot, and they've worked all these years. I was in the cannery business where a lot of undocumented workers are working, okay, and they worked hard. I mean, I get upset with people saying that they're taking the jobs away. I know Mr. Salazar probably worked in the fields, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would work out there on the fields if it's hot. But my question is to you, Mr. Salazar.
Yes.
The president promised a lot of things, especially for Hispanics or undocumented people or all immigrants, okay, that he would do something. But right now, he'll never do it because for the House of Representatives having the whole, okay? So no matter what he puts about in immigration, it's going to be on the whole, period. No in it for buts, okay? That House of Representatives is actually a two-part, Republicans and Tea Party. They're not going to give the president a way out. And I hope that whoever gets elected, Democrat or Republican, I'm not citing one way or the other, but
yeah,
it's going to be a hard-pressed thing to do for the president. No matter what things he's going to put, even the DREAM Act, it would never go through.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree. The president has a tough task ahead of him if he wants to persuade Congress or convince them
He's not
to
going
pass.
to be able to do that. He's got a year in office.
Right.
A year and a half.
He's going to have a tough job. This is done, in my opinion, not for him, but for the presidential election. This is going to be the hot topic for the presidential election.
The way I look at it is, even if he tries to do something, they're going to stonewall it. It's not going to get done. And again, promises, promises, promises when you're running for office, and then you get in and sit there for 7 years and do nothing.
Right.
So maybe he's just as much to blame as Congress, because he sat there and did nothing.
But let's remember that the president can't pass the law. Only Congress can. He's done this executive
action. But he had a Democratic Congress and Senate for what, 2 years?
Yeah,
His first 2 years?
Absolutely agree.
Couldn't get anything done?
Absolutely agree. I believe, to a large extent, he had and he used up that political capital that he had throughout the first year on health reform.
First 2 years, he had the opportunity with that Democratic Senate and Congress in place.
Correct.
Because he could talk to them.
And kudos for doing that. The problem is that he did that at the expense of immigration reform.
Well, you're talking about health care.
Right.
Yeah, okay, Obamacare.
Right.
So Obamacare was first, immigration was down the line.
Right.
All right, caller, go ahead, you're there.
I've seen over the years, and it really doesn't matter which administration's in office in Washington, D.C., seems like all of a sudden we're going to crack down on immigration, and when that comes up, whoever in office says, okay, but those that are here in the United States are going to get amnesty. And this has went over and over and over again to the point of we're actually condoning it now with driver's license and other issues. But my main comment here is, had it not been for NAFTA, and since NAFTA has closed our corporations down, our manufacturing, and sent over to China and other countries, and Mexico and what have you, Indonesia, we don't have the jobs. We don't have the jobs for these people. So these people that are coming over searching for jobs are getting jobs that we would ordinarily would have had, but they're working for a lot less wage because there's so many people looking for work. The employer is calling the shots. Almost all jobs now here in California, in this valley, uneducated jobs are close to minimum wage. That's because of the abundance of workers.
But let me ask you something.
So
Hey, caller.
my question is, yes.
Go ahead with your question. I'm sorry.
Okay. So my question is anybody seeing this as far as flooding the market with jobs, that we don't really have jobs for these folks? Or is this something that's just being passed over?
That's a great question. Thank you.
Well, I think all you have to do is talk to people like Manuel Cunha, who is the president of the Nisei Farmers League. You talk to anybody in ag these days, and they're going to tell you that the jobs are there. There are jobs.
No water, though.
Well, obviously that's an issue, but that's a separate issue within immigration.
But if you don't have water, you don't have crops, you don't have jobs.
And that may be a subsequent effect that we're going to see even fewer people coming, or maybe a lot of people returning back to Mexico. We don't know. That's absolutely true, but that's a separate issue than immigration.
Kind of a crapshoot. You just don't know that because you don't know what's going to happen with the water situation.
Right.
But caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to comment on immigration.
Yeah, turn down the sound on your TV, please. Turn down the sound on your TV, please.
From Asia countries, they own every store, every station, and you walk in and they're so rude to you when you go in to get gas or something. It's awful.
Okay.
And another thing on the immigration, yes, there is too many over here illegals, but they also are checking on all the Asians, on all the dairies in this valley, all the farms. They own everything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just a quick word to the caller. I know you're just watching there. We could hear your TV in the background. When you do call in, you've got to turn down that sound on your television set because you're not able to hear us, and then we're getting feedback here in the studio. So turn down the sound when you do call in. Want to respond to what the caller said?
It's a beautiful thing. I think that a large majority of the people who own the farms in this valley are people from immigrants. They've come from Italy, they come from Greece, they come from India, they've come from lots of different places, and the vast majority of those owners are legal.
Okay,
but let's not forget that they came from other countries as well.
I have
We're a
some
nation
video
of
to roll. I'm
immigrants.
going to roll that in a minute, but I want to get back to this emergency stay that's going to take place on Friday. I need to wrap around my brain what this is going to mean in regards to this ruling that took place by this federal judge in February, because the federal judge stopped the president's action. Friday's ruling by who?
By the Circuit Court of Appeal will determine whether or not that injunction should remain in place.
The injunction that stopped the president's action?
Correct. So if
Okay.
the emergency stay is granted, then that would allow the executive action to proceed.
I see. Okay. I think I got that. Caller, go ahead.
Hi. I'm responding to all these callers who are calling in. There's nobody in America that wants to go out and work the fields. That's hard work. You see the old farm laborers bent and stooped over. And where do these people think that all the food that they've been putting on the table for their families to eat all these years, where do they think it's been coming from? It's been coming from workers who cross over the border. They're migrant workers. They work, they follow the fields, and they feed us. We should be grateful to them. They get nothing for it.
Okay.
I've seen them downtown. It's horrible. They should get the respect due to them
Okay.
for feeding a nation.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, let's roll the videotape. Border fence. If you build more fences, more brick walls, higher fences, like what you're going to see here in this video, is that going to solve the problem of these people crossing the border? Yes or no?
No, it's not going to solve the problem.
There's one of those big fences there along, I believe, the Texas border.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there at the border on a regular basis, but I hear time and time again that people find a way around They jump, they get a bigger ladder, they find other ways. The fence that Congress proposed to build across the border, fortunately, was not completed. So basically,
how
you
big
go
a
to
fence was that?
Oh, geez, it was going to span from Tijuana or San Diego all the way to Texas, to the end of Texas, and I mean, it was like 2,000 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Why wouldn't that be a good thing?
Because there are better ways of dealing with this topic. There are better ways. I mean, this is reminiscent of the Berlin Wall. I don't think anybody's going to stand here or argue that a wall like the Berlin Wall was a good thing. I mean, let's not forget what
Wouldn't it
Reagan
stop
said.
them from coming in?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's simply not.
Caller, hang on one moment. I'm going to get to you. I want to touch on one other topic, and I'll get to you in a minute, caller. The children that were crossing the border from Central America. The amnesty program, we embraced them. This was last year. Up to 90,000 at the end of December had crossed in. Let's roll that videotape. We'll get out of this one here and talk about these kids that came over. It's almost, it's almost like a crime to see these children that had no other place to go, but they had to cross the border for what? To save themselves?
Protection from the home that they had, the dangers that they were exposed to in their home. They were to the point that they said, if we stay home, our life is in danger. So they did what anybody else would do, and that is seek a safer place to be.
Asylum.
Asylum, call it refugees, whatever you like. The point is they're fleeing a danger to their well-being, to their livelihood, to their life.
Many of these we sent back, I believe, right?
There's a good percentage of those that are being returned. Yeah. However, fortunately, they're at least given some kind of due process and allowed to present their issue, their case, in front of an immigration judge. Right. And in essence, that is unfortunately clogging up the courts.
Caller, you're on the air. It's got to be quick. I'm sorry, because we're almost out of time. We only got about 2 minutes left or less. Go ahead.
Yes, I was just, I'm glad you brought the children crossing border, because I was really wondering what happened to the compassion in our country. We used to, Ellis Island was our little refuge, and saying, like, people come to this area and we're going to help you out, we'll give you a free meal, we'll give you citizenship, and it seems like compassion is completely left out, especially when it's left to the children. And I'm glad they are doing something, and at least giving them a little say before they deport them back. But that's all I have to say. What happened to the compassion?
But I will correct the caller in one thing. You can't compare this to Ellis Island, because Ellis Island was a completely different thing. They came in legally. They had to be checked out, given physicals, or they were sent back. We're talking about people that are crossing the border illegally. But what do you hope happens on Friday with this federal case? What are you hoping for? What do you want the end result to be?
Well, I'm hoping that the judge not only says the emergency stay is granted, but I mean, this is me being hopeful that they will say the whole lawsuit is going to be dismissed. Yeah. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But it would be more than enough for the circuit court to simply say the emergency stay is granted, the injunction, the pause that the federal judge put on the executive action is set aside, is lifted, and the executive action can proceed.
Right. Well, I got to say, you are living proof that, I guess it works to a certain extent. I mean, you're a law-abiding citizen. You came here. Did you come here illegally or legally? I don't even know.
We came legally.
You came legally?
Yeah. We got our green card before we entered the United States.
Before you entered, but my point is, we're a nation of immigrants. Everybody here came from somewhere, or their ancestors did. And so you and I are both living proof that it works.
And there's many of us. There's lots of us, and that's the point. We need to have the people that are here, give them the opportunity, take care of their status to allow them to prove themselves. And if they don't, they commit the crime, then everybody's going to suffer the consequences.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out and see what happens on Friday. Yeah. Lazaro Salazar, an immigration attorney here in Fresno. Listen, I hope you come back. If we have a breaking news story regarding immigration, would you be willing to?
Absolutely, anytime. You let me know.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it for us on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Thank you for your calls. I appreciate it very much. All calls are welcome here. See you back tomorrow. Another edition of Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Have a good day.